There are only 6 traits that make a conversation fun and flirty, and if you use these 6 traits as a checklist, your conversation with women will always be engaging and attractive. I'm going to tell you exactly what they are. Hi, I'm Bobby Rio, and maybe you're like I was. I used to think that appearing cool was enough to get a woman interested. I thought that if I, wore the right clothes, I worked out, I hung out with the right crowd, and I pretended hard enough not to be interested in her, that she would magically become interested in me. And here's the kicker. Sometimes it worked, right? Sometimes she did become interested. Yeah, I could tell that my act, right, this cool guy act, opened up a window of opportunity for me to make my move. But that window was very, very, very short, and it almost always closed very quickly, and I rarely got the girl. I think a lot of guys unconsciously fall into the same trap. They believe that they can, quote unquote, trick a woman into falling for you, but you can't. You can trick her into becoming interested in you, but you can't, if you can't back up that intriguing cool guy persona with the ability to talk in a way that attracts and excites her, you will always lose out to the guy who can talk. I experienced this firsthand many times. I remember one time in particular, I was at one of my friend's girlfriend's sorority house. She was throwing a, kind of a small get-together. And I looked around and I felt good because by my estimation, I was the best dressed guy there. I had been working out. I was whatever. So I did what I did back then. And I acted like the cool, mysterious guy who was too preoccupied with himself to bother socializing with the girls at the party, which was easy for me because back then I was really shy. And sure enough, I'm standing in the corner talking to one of my friends, and this short, punkish girl, really incredibly cute girl, walks over to me, kind of stands up on her tippy toes, leans in, and kisses me right on the lips. Then she proceeds to tell me how she was watching me from across the room, and she thought that I was really cute. So my friend, he slips away, he kind of gives me the big, thumbs up. But the minute that I was alone in the corner with her, my mind went blank. It was like a struggle to get even the most ordinary conversation to come out of my mouth. She asked me a few questions, and I sort of mumbled and grunted my answers, trying to quickly gather up something that would capture her interest, something that would make me look even cooler than she thought I was. Finally, I blurted out my clever line. So, what's your major? The girl had completely, unprovokedly walked over to me and kissed me on the lips and tells me I'm adorable. And the only thing that I can think to say is, what is your major? Well, of course, after a few minutes of small talk mixed with a lot of uncomfortable pauses and me being stuck in my head, just sipping my beer, trying to divert the attention away from the fact that I was, desperately searching for what to say next, she tells me that she has to use the bathroom. She doesn't come back. I don't think I have to explain to you how painful it is to lose a girl who is practically throwing herself at you, right? How embarrassing it is to my friends. But this was my reality for a really long time. What I learned the hard way was that you can have, good body language, a cutting edge sense of fashion, an army of social proof. But if you can't talk, you always lose to the guy who can. Always. So how do you overcome this, right? I had to overcome it. How do you be the guy that can talk, right? Be the guy that can talk. How do you do it? Here's a secret that is not often talked about. Women are rooting for you. Women want you to succeed. They want you to hook them into a great, fun, engaging conversation. They want to feel intense connection. They want butterflies. They want to be seduced. And yes, they want to kiss you. They are willing to cut you a lot of slack, right? A lot of the information out there tries to make getting with women and flirting with women this mystical thing with layers and layers of information that you need to know. But the truth is, you don't have to be spectacular. You just have to be good enough. You've probably sat and watched as a guy picked up a beautiful woman and you thought, he didn't really say anything that great. The bar is not that high. That's the great thing. You just have to be slightly better than the guys around you. And you win, right? That's all you got to be. Years after that incident, right? Years after that incident in the sorority house that I spoke about earlier, where I watched a girl who had just kissed me walk away, I finally got it. The conversation has to be 2 words: fun and sexy. That's it. That has always been it. Fun and sexy. It was like flicking a light switch and filling a dark room with light. All of a sudden, everything became crystal clear. And I felt this sense of excitement to go out and talk to women that previously I'd never felt before. The best way that I can describe it was sort of like the feeling you get when your adrenaline is pumping from a shot of caffeine, or the surge of relaxed confidence from, being a little beer buzzed. It's like you begin to see the world as completely limitless. Anything is possible, right? Almost like you're escaping from this imaginary shell that has enclosed you all of your life. That was what I was in, a shell, right? Fun and sexy. Now, I mentioned in the beginning of this video that there are 6 traits. So what are the 6 traits that make a conversation pop and get women insanely attracted to you very quickly, right? What are these traits that make it fun and sexy? Here they are. The first is you've got to keep her entirely in the moment. You can't be out of the moment. You got to be in the moment. You turn your conversations into a game, right? The conversation between the 2 of you has to be like a fun game that you're playing back and forth. You don't hide your sexuality. No hiding, right? No hiding your sexuality. You accept her femininity. You accept that she's sexual, right? Like, accept it. You keep the spotlight, and I'm going to describe what this means, but you keep the spotlight of the conversation. There's a giant spotlight. It's got to be on the 2 of you, and you escalate, right? The conversation needs to be moving forward. If I had to name the biggest reason most guys blow it, it's because they don't keep escalating their conversations with women to that next level. If a conversation hits a plateau for too long, then the tension's released and she gets moored. Many guys hit the plateau, get frustrated, and they give up. So how do you overcome this plateau, right? How do you overcome it? You're always escalating the conversation. You're going to find that if you can simply make your conversations more fun and sexy and keep them escalating forward, you'll be able to draw out that side of a woman that she's dying to let loose. Remember, she's rooting for you. It's your job not to mess it up. That's your job. Now, if you're on my email list, I'm going to hand you the strategies and the techniques that changed my conversations and allowed me to meet, date, and sleep with the women that I really desired. And I also recommend that you grab a copy of my Conversation Escalation training course, as it covers everything in detail. From now, I want you to focus, because I've been there, right? I've struggled, and I spent a lot of time discovering the steps, the traits to no longer face this issue. And I want to help you improve your conversations, make them more fun and sexy, and attract the type of girls that you really want. So I want you to remember that a conversation, you got to keep her in the moment. You got to turn it into a fun game. You can't hide your masculinity. You can't hide the fact that you're a sexual being. And you have to accept that she is too. You can't project this good girl, PG sort of mentality on her, because she's going to be boring and it's going to make you boring. You got to keep, I call it the conversation spotlight. Always imagine when you're talking to a woman that there's a spotlight shining down on you, and anytime she's talking about herself, that spotlight is only shining on her. Anytime you're talking about yourself, it's shining on you. If you're talking about your job, the spotlight's shining on your job. You want to talk back and forth so that it's always shining on the both of you. That's the secret to chemistry. And finally, you want to always be escalating your conversations forward. Always be moving things to the next level, right?